it's a tough one. It's ingrained in us, and even in the fact that we're not supposed to celebrate our womanhood and talk about our vaginas and our vulvas and our shrinking clitorises and stuff like that. Like it's the outward physical presence, and even we might celebrate a woman being pregnant because a woman being pregnant is gorgeous. Like usually that big bump looks lovely, but then after she's had the baby, like and the belly rolls, we never see really those pictures. We don't see pictures of aging women in the media, really, do we? Really. Like actresses tend to have a sell-by date, unless you're Nicole Kidman or Helen Mirren's very gorgeous, sexy older lady. It's tough, and men can just keep going and going and going. So it's almost like women will reach a point in life and they're considered to be like, she's on the shelf now, let's move on. It's terrible, but I think it's we need to change the narrative ourselves as society, as females, when we look at other females, instead of being critical, just saying, isn't she gorgeous?
Laura Dowling, welcome to the podcast. For those who don't know, PwC Image Startup Businesswoman of the Year, CEO, fabU Wellness, host of the great show, The Laura Dowling Experience, known as the Fabulous Pharmacist online, an absolute powerhouse of a human being. Laura, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much for having me.
Laura, we have so much to go through in today's podcast. I want to start on an Instagram bio. Keep it nice and handy for people. A lot of people will be familiar with you. You do so much content on Instagram. The podcast is tremendous. I was on yours recently and had a great time, and the feedback was incredible for it. So you're helping hundreds of thousands, probably millions of people now. We're going to talk about the new book, Love Your Vulva, which will be coming out very shortly after this podcast is released, and the link will be in the description for people to listen. But before we do that, one of your primary focuses that made you explode is you help people understand health and meds. It's in your Instagram bio. Talk to us a little bit about what people get confused about the most, and that'll give us a nice little bit of a catalyst or a jumping off point for today's podcast.
People, I think, don't realise how they can manage their health themselves, really simply. And it's because they're not educated about their bodies in the first instance, and then I suppose medicines, health, illness, it all seems like something that's, I suppose, over there for the doctor to tell you about and help you with. But in actual fact, if people could take control of their own health more through knowledge about their own bodies and how they can actually do it, I think that they would be happier, healthier people, and they'd be more confident, and that's really why I do it all.
It gives people that empowerment and allows them to make the changes themselves. Yeah. And the fabU line, like the Andropause, is one of my favorite supplements. I said this to you, and for people listening, because it's going to be a mixture of men and female listening, it's I won't say it's a testosterone boosting supplement. It's a
testosterone support.
It's testosterone support.
Yes, the language is very important. And do you know what? I really do feel that, because particularly as a pharmacist, I'm very ethical about the way I market my products. It's so very important, because you've all of the, there's loads of supplements out there, and a lot of them making spurious claims, outrageous claims, and it's not fair on the consumer that doesn't know any better. So I've always been like, this is the way we're going, and I've had people working with me saying, why can't we say this? I'm like, because we can't. People will feel better on them, they will feel great, but we are not going to overpromise and underdeliver. I'd rather the other way around. Which is
100% what happened. Yeah. It's become a staple for me.
Oh,
I went to Spain a few weeks ago, and that and my peppermint oil capsules, because I have a sensitive stomach, came with me. The only two supplements that came with me, because I'm like, I'm going to keep taking this while I'm away. A wonderful supplement. And again, Andropause kind of talks on the male side of menopause, perimenopause, which we're going to get into. Talk to us a little bit actually on that while we're here, because there are going to be a mixture of men and women listening. Andropause was something that I hadn't really came across until we started speaking, and then I started supplementing with the fabU product, started to see the benefits, and then started to look into it more. Talk to us a little bit about how that came, because the perimenopausal space, menopausal space, something I serve a lot with, gets talked about quite frequently, less so on the male side. And there's probably a lot of women, wives, girlfriends listening who are like, go on, tell us a little bit more about that old andropause there, and a little bit more bang.
That's the thing. And do you know what? I think traditionally we teased men, we slagged them. Oh, sure, look, he's having a midlife crisis. They're looking at him in his Lycra, he's cycling up mountains on a really expensive bike, or if he has a bit of money, he's buying a new car for himself. But men do go through a hormonal change. It's around the late 30s, early 40s it begins, where they begin to lose their testosterone levels. They begin to lose testosterone about 1% every year. And it isn't as profound as menopause or perimenopause. So it's not as if they fall off a cliff. It's a very slow decline, but it's a very real decline. And some men it affects very badly. They'll say the colour's just gone out of the television, they've lost their drive, they don't feel that they can lift as heavy in the gym, they have no energy, their libido is reduced, they just don't feel like their 20-year-old selves, and they don't want to be like looking back in their life going, oh, I wish I was this. They want to feel energetic and youthful now. So it's a really important conversation. So I developed that blend. I'd done loads of research on shilajit resin, which is used by the Sherpas in the Himalayas for strength and endurance lines. Made me know it's so good for their brain. And then all the vitamins and minerals that are in there for testosterone support, for energy support, for spermatogenesis. I actually had a DM from a lady saying, no, it's actually in my confessions there a couple of Sundays ago, saying she's 43, her husband's 50, and she's just found out she's pregnant and she's blaming the andropause.
What a good testimony review.
I'm taking no responsibility for that. But helping with hair health, with protein synthesis, energy levels, everything that is really important to men I have in there, and it's going brilliantly. Like my Meno and Peri product is it is the biggest selling supplement that I have, and andropause is up there with it now, and it's only been out a few months. So it does go to show you that there is a need for that. There's a need around that male conversation where men feel that there's a safe space for them to actually talk about this, because men don't talk about things that when they're feeling, low, and traditionally they don't, and they may go around, they may be a little bit grumpier, their wife might notice the difference in their mood, they might notice the difference in their energy, they just come home from work and slump on the couch, but they can't do anything about it. So so have those conversations. It's so important. We have got the menopause and perimenopause conversation going, which is brilliant. It was lacking for so long, but why can't we make everyone in the house happy?
I love that. And I put up a photo saying, new supplement I've been trying for the last few weeks, incredible, something very similar to that, and my DMs blew up off the back of that from men going, what's the story? And most of my replies were, just get it. I was like, just get it. And I'm a professional in terms of nutritionist and working with people with health and fitness and lifestyle change. That's a big part. But when you notice a supplement that's working, it is the last 5-10%, and sometimes it actually is the 5-10% at the beginning to get you going. It gets the momentum, gets things moving in the right direction, and then you're lifting a bit more weight in the gym. Your mood is a little bit better, sex drive's a little bit higher, so you're feeling better, your relationships are stronger. And it's sometimes we think supplement last, but in a lot of cases, particularly with andropause, perimenopause, menopause, that whole hormonal side, sometimes it's actually supplements first to give you that little bit of a kick.
100%. And it's that, as you say, it can be really subtle changes, and nothing supplements a great diet, stress reduction, sleep, exercise. We know that. And no amount of supplements or HRT or TRT that you take will negate a bad lifestyle. But you can certainly get that extra 5-10% to make you actually get the energy to go and want to do something and just feel that a little bit better. 100%. It's the holistic side of things. That's why I studied Ayurvedic medicine, traditional Chinese medicine, and I think that those two can be absolutely linked with contemporary Western medicine to make everyone feel healthier.
Talk to us about the confession box.
It's wild.
It's wild. I love, because I'm not great on consuming social media. It's not a strong suit for me. I'm very good at replying to my audience, but in the lead up to the podcast, I was checking out stories, checking out things you're doing. I love your content. I just think it's fucking hilarious. But I want to ask about the confession box and take a moment to think about this if you have to. What was the last question you got that you went, oh fuck, and then answered and replied to?
In the confession box or in my Q&A box? Because there's two. The confession box is where...
Oh yeah, okay. Let's go Q&A box. Actually, is probably more accurate.
The last question I got... Actually, I just put up a question box yesterday and I haven't had a chance to look at it. Normally, it is my... Okay, so do you know what, actually? The last one I got, and I actually put a post out on this with the answer to it. My clitoris has shrunk and I do not know what to do. I can see it. It's shrunk. And sex is not enjoyable. Like, what? WTF, as in what the fuck? I'm 53. Is this what my life is looking like now? So that was the last question that I got, that I was like, okay, there's so many women that are suffering like this. I need to just put it out there, not just as an answer in a story. It has to go out as a post. And I got about 1,500 saves, which is amazing on a post. So, you may not get many people commenting on a post like that because they don't want to be seen maybe to be commenting it, because then, people might see it. But when you get that amount of saves, that is resonating with people.
100%. Let's talk about that, because something that you actually brought awareness to me around. I work with a lot of people in that perimenopausal space, menopausal space, that in and around that age range, more so people who are struggling with the weight side, the body fat side, body composition, etc. But vaginal estrogen was something I came across through your content. And I think the title of the reel was Not Having Orgasms, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
And that was talking about the clitoris shrinking when women are going through perimenopause, menopause. Talk to us a little bit about that process and how something like vaginal estrogen can help, because people are listening to the podcast here. They're going to follow up the Instagram after. They'll search that reel. I'll put the link for people to see it below directly. But talk to us a little bit about, one, that's a normal process that can happen to women at this point, and what they should do as a next step so that they're not, I won't say embarrassed isn't the right word, because what I love about your content, and we're going to talk about Love Your Vulva in a moment, in terms of like bringing awareness and having this dialogue. So it's like, this is your body, this is what's happening to your body, it changes with age, hormonal fluctuations, etc. You now have a new problem you need to solve for. Here's how you can solve for it. Talk to us a little bit about it, of clitoris shrinking, sex not being enjoyable, and how something like maybe vaginal estrogen or alternatives can help.
When a woman goes through perimenopause and menopause, her estrogen levels will begin to fluctuate initially, and then they just fall off a cliff and they are non-existent, okay? And it can lead to a myriad of symptoms from the top of their head to the tip of their toes. But we're going to talk about the pelvic region specifically here. So it can cause dry vagina. So basically what keeps our vaginas lovely and plump and moist, and lubricate it during sex as well as like, you know, lubricate it during the rest of the month, or during the month in general, is vaginal estrogen, or estrogen in general. So when estrogen levels drop, our vaginas can dry up. They can feel uncomfortable. We can, you know, discharge reduces. The self lubrication that happens when we're having sex can be reduced or non-existent. We can experience regular UTIs as well as a result of it. Our vulva can actually change colours, and it can go from that lovely pink colour to kind of like a grey kind of colour, and our clitoris can shrink as well. Isn't that fucking horrific? To think that can happen to your body. Now, I know that if that was happening in men's penises, that there would be a national outcry, wouldn't there? Like, I mean, there'd be something done about it, right? But I think that because traditionally as women we've been taught to not talk about our private parts, that's our womanly bits, they're womanly problems, just don't deal with it, that women have suffered for so long in silence, and I saw it in the pharmacy. So clitoral shrinkage can obviously affect orgasms, because our clitoris is how we orgasm, even though I know men think that pounding away there into the vagina is the way to do it.
I'm making notes here, like, so it's not pounding away. Oh,
not
shit.
pounding away, just a little rub of the genie clitoris generally does the job for us. So when that shrinks, we can stop orgasming. And that, combined with a low libido in the first instance, which can happen with the hormonal fluctuations, can just lead to like a sex life that's really non-existent or very uncomfortable. And you just need one episode of uncomfortable sex that you seize up the next time it's happening, and you just don't want it to happen. So as well as having a dry vagina, you don't have a clitoris that's going to give you an orgasm, and it just creates this vicious cycle where you're low in confidence, you're not enjoying it, your partner can't enjoy it because you're not enjoying it, you then refuse it, and it has this myriad of effects on a woman's psychological, physical, you know, mental, holistic well-being, as well as the relationship that she may or may not be in. So something as simple as using a vaginal estrogen pessary. Now, it's prescription only in Ireland. There is a UK version that is OTC, but it's not available over here. So you pop it up into the vagina, it plumps up that vaginal mucosa, it makes it lovely and moist again. You use it for 2 weeks non-stop for the first 2 weeks, and then thereafter use it twice or 3 times a weekly, depending on how much you need to use it. There's also a cream that you can use that you can apply to the outer vulval area to kind of plump up that skin
at
too.
At any point, not pre-sex. It's
no,
any point.
It's any point. This is like a maintenance use, okay? You should be using it till the day you die, right? Once you're on it for life. And that's another really important point for people to say, but I'll just go back to how they use it. So they might apply it to the outside of their vulva, they can apply it to their clitoris, and that just plumps it up again and gets things working again, gets the blood flow going again, and just makes it like you're you again, okay? Makes you feel great about yourself. But the thing about it is, and the caveat is that, and I would have find in the pharmacy, is that women will often get the first prescription for it. So that's usually a box of 24 Vagifem, if that's the product that they're using. They'll use that for 14 nights, and then there's 10 left over, and they'll use that twice weekly for like 5 weeks. They might get a second prescription, and then they're like, okay, I'm done, I'm sorted. Cool. But that vaginal estrogen is never going to be replaced again. Your ovaries are never going to start producing it again. You need to maintain its use. And sometimes women fall off the wagon. They stop using it, the symptoms return, and then they have to go back on that 14-nighter again. So it's really important that they know that they can use it now, and that they can use it until the day they die. And actually, I have you know, this thing about women in nursing homes. We have older women in nursing homes, our grannies, our mothers maybe, and they suffer regularly from UTIs. And if they were given vaginal estrogen, they would not suffer from UTIs. And the UTIs give them, as well as discomfort and as well as, you know, needing antibiotics on a regular basis, delirium. And they can hallucinate with these UTIs. They can eventually get them under control with antibiotics. But those UTIs can be like prevented if they're put on vaginal estrogen, but we're just not doing it for those women in our senior ladies in care, which we should be, absolutely.
That's, again, awareness is key.
I know.
Like that, my granny passed there a couple of years ago, but I remember she would get UTIs so regularly, and she, delirium, literally would, and she had mental health stuff anyway, and it degenerated her faster and faster and faster. And
they're uncomfortable. They're sitting in bed and they're uncomfortable because their vagina's all dry. Their pelvic region is like, you know, they're experiencing these UTIs. They're really uncomfortable and there's no help for them. But like if it was actually like in the protocol that just whack on the vaginal estrogen to them, or, you know, try and help them out that way. Now there's also, you know, obviously if it's internal, like, I mean, that could be distressing for someone who's not cognitively all there. There would need to be steps in place, but I absolutely think that we could really help our senior women. And I know that people listen to this podcast be like, oh my God, something's clicked here. My mother's in a nursing home, or my mother regularly suffers from UTIs. Like, I get messages all the time. My mother's 82. Can she use vaginal estrogen? I'm like, yes, get her to the GP. And it may really help her. So it's so very important. So it's not just midlife women, it's women like midlife plus.
Yeah. And it's because everyone has women in their life as well.
Yeah.
You're going to have your mother, a grandmother, somebody who's struggling. And again, bringing awareness to it, that there's problems here and there's solutions for it. Again, that's new information to me. And again, not directly applying now, but it will land. You have the aha moments with people right now.
And Brian, can I just say something to you as a man, okay? It's so important, because I do talks around the country all the time. Sometimes some men are even brave enough to come to my Viva La Vulva show. And I always get women
I would totally come to that show.
You're coming in January. We're going in January. We'll bring you up on stage and everything. And women will always come up and say, oh, that was great and I've learned so much. But the men that come up, nearly tears in their eyes, going, I wish I'd known this. I would have been so much more understanding of my wife when she was going through this. I know I'm going to talk to my daughter now more about her body. Like, men are good. They just want their wives, their girlfriends, their daughters to be happy, you know? So like, they want to hear this too. And if women don't know what's going on with their bodies, how can men possibly know what's going on? It's
so important. One of the things that I did, and again, I'm not giving myself a pat on the back because everyone's going to do their own thing, but there's like that generational trauma from men with their daughters, and a disconnection around the time when their period comes, because guys are like, what the fuck do we do? Like, and you've got this kind of Irish shame around it, this Irish, don't talk about it. And one of the things I got for my daughter, she's 10, she turned 10 there a couple of weeks ago, I got her a period box. So like when her period comes, I'm like, here's your hot water bottle, here's your pads, here's how these will work. So if it happens when you're with me, you can talk to me about it and we have everything here. So we're good.
That's lovely.
And things like that is just, I find really important, because you're leaning into discomfort, but most men want to be there for their wife, they want to be there for their girlfriend, they want to be there for their daughters, but sometimes we don't know how to show up. So I think having these conversations, as I said, opens up that door. So Viva La Vulva, which 100%. Brings me on to Love Your Vulva.
Oh yes,
the new book.
Yes,
talk to us a little bit about, conception is the word, but I know it ties in directly here, but talk to us about the origin of it and why this book got written, because you have so much information packed in here for people, and they're going to get so much value from it, because everything you do, as I mentioned in the intro, you're a powerhouse. You don't do anything by halves, and everything from Instagram to podcast to the products there's love in it, there's energy, there's everything that people need. Love Your Vulva. Talk to us about the origin, who the book is for, and who you think it's going to help the most.
So the origin of the book is my patients and my customers in the pharmacy and my followers online, really. So I saw in my 20 years working in the pharmacy how little women knew about their bodies and how they didn't know what was going wrong with them, how when they were, you know, maybe even going to their doctors, they were embarrassed to speak about it, how their doctors may have been reluctant to advise on HRT or vaginal estrogen, or they didn't know where to go. So I saw that in the pharmacy, and I saw on Instagram when people were messaging into my confession box, I've never had an orgasm, or I pee when I have sex, or I picked up an STI, I don't know what to do, I'm mortified, I have herpes, I feel disgusting. And I wanted to write a book that was really easy to understand. So it's medical in the sense that it will give you information about your body and where to go for help and what to do to treat yourself. However, it is really easy to consume for your average reader that just wants to read something in a couple of hours and really understand it, and it is beautifully illustrated by an amazing Irish artist, female artist, Marie Roach, with real women's bodies. So we are talking big juicy arses, saggy boobies, like tummies, and then there's skinny women too, but then there's like a big vulva in the middle of it, and it is like an absolute celebration of the differences in our bodies and how beautiful we all are, really. And it's called Love Your Vulva, and then the tagline is Celebrating Women's Bodies, and that's really what it's about. So it's basically like a beautiful, juicy, informative book where you can go and go, oh Jesus, I've thrush, how do I treat it? Or I think I've thrush, is it thrush? Could it be lichen sclerosus? Is it BV? What is herpes? How will my body change in pregnancy? But it isn't so medically technical that you'll be like lost reading it or bored reading it or going cross-eyed reading it. It's really bite-sized information, and actually it's very like my Viva La Vulva show, but in book format for everyone. Basically for every woman, like the dedication is to every woman who didn't know how amazing her body was. So it's for every woman to give to their daughter, to share with their partner, and actually unembarrassingly read it on the Lewis, because the front cover is an abstract book of a picture of a vulva, so you wouldn't even know that it was a vulva, but if you look closely, you'll know it is.
I want to unpack the tagline, the subtitle, Celebrating Women's Bodies, because something that I see a lot in the fitness space is women that I work with who have either come through diet culture, there's just traditional, I should look this way and I don't look this way, and I will work on nutrition, I will work with their training program, etc. But there's some that I will spend a lot of time and be like, just, I want you to look at your body in the mirror, like be completely naked and just be like, I love this part, I love that part. And yeah, there's a bit of belly fat around. We will get some of that down with the nutrition, but it doesn't make it bad. You still need to love that, and we can reduce it because health, and you'll feel more body confidence, etc. I'm all for this holistic approach. But what do you see, and you might use yourself as an example even here, Laura, that the barrier for women when the need is to celebrate their body? Because I see it a lot, whether it's, the mum tum, body fat in the back of the arms, bingo wings, whatever language they'll put in it, and there'll be a beautiful human being, a beautiful woman, and all they can see is the body fat in the back of their arms or the stomach fat not reducing. And as I mentioned, my occupation is helping people change their body composition, helping them lose body fat, helping them tone up, helping them feel more body confident. But sometimes it's a horse before the cart, or the cart before the horse, that it's nearly a self-love approach, celebrating your body first, and then as a byproduct you end up changing your physical shape, and then you're like, okay, amazing, I'm a wonderful human being, whether my dress size is X or whether it's Y. What do you see as the biggest barrier, either to yourself or that you see most often with women who are just struggling to celebrate their own body and the body that they're in?
I think it's the narrative that we've been sold for so long as women, even as little girls. You have to look a certain way. I would hate to be grown up in the Instagram age now. I do not know how young girls are navigating that, because we had magazines. You had Elle Macpherson and Claudia Schiffer to look at, but there's always been ideal bodies, hasn't there? There's always been like the supermodel or the heroin chic, or we've recently gone into the celebrate the bigger body, but now we're back because of Ozempic into kind of the waif-like look. I think it's society, and I think it's that unimaginable pressure that we put on women, that women put on women. It's not even men. Like, you put a naked woman in front of a man, and no matter what size she is, I'm sure
but andropause and away you go.
He sees something that he likes. It's a tough one. It's ingrained in us, and even in the fact that we're not supposed to celebrate our womanhood and talk about our vaginas and our vulvas and our shrinking clitorises and stuff like that. Like, it's the outward physical presence, and even we might celebrate a woman being pregnant, because a woman being pregnant is gorgeous. Like, usually that big bump looks lovely, but then after she's had the baby, like, and the belly rolls, we never see really those pictures. We don't see pictures of aging women in the media, really, do we? Really. Like, actresses tend to have a sell-by date, unless you're Nicole Kidman, or Helen Mirren's very gorgeous, sexy older lady. It's tough, and men can just keep going and going and going. So it's almost like women will reach a point in life and they're considered to be like, she's on the shelf now, you know, let's move on. It's terrible, but I think we need to change the narrative ourselves as society, as females, when we look at other females, instead of being critical, just saying, isn't she gorgeous?
Can I ask on that? If
yeah.
you could wave a magic wand and make one change that would impact all the women, one brush stroke, what would you pick? Would it be the way that women speak to other women, or the way that women look at other women, or would it be something else?
In terms of the way they feel about their bodies, or in terms of healthcare in general?
In terms of how they feel about their bodies.
Oh God, if I had one brush stroke, it would be to wipe out that narrative that there's a specific typical body that's perfect and looks gorgeous. That, you know, what is it? It's white woman, big titties, big bum, narrow waist. Isn't that the kind of the narrative? Yeah. Whereas there's none of it. Who looks like that? Except your Kim Kardashian. You've had your, you know, all the stuff done to you. Like, very few women actually look like that. And even diversity, like, you know, you've gorgeous, big, beautiful black women, and they're rarely celebrated. You know, it's this skinny white bird, isn't it? Yeah, I think
it's slowly shifting.
We are slowly shifting, and we saw it for a number of years. But then, because of Ozempic now, we're seeing the skinny as well coming back again. Like, it is coming in. We're even seeing celebrities. It's quite obvious that they're using some kind of a GLP-1 because they were already thin, and now they're like, their face is shrinking, you know. So it's really tough. It's really tough for women to navigate that. And I don't have any daughters. I have gorgeous nieces though, and I worry for them. I really do. But like, boys are kind of occupied by fitness too, and their body composition and protein and looking jacked, and so it affects everyone. And it's a lot of it's marketing, a lot of it's money making.
100%.
Isn't it?
It's I don't know if you follow Rinny McGregor. She's a sports dietitian. She's just fantastic content. But one of her lines when it comes to that is, who's benefiting from me having this belief? Who's benefiting from me thinking I need big boobs, narrow waist, big bum?
Yeah.
Who's benefiting from me needing to have a six pack and big muscles?
Yeah.
And it's normally not you.
No.
It's normally either pharmaceuticals, supplement companies, me, I'm a personal trainer or an online coach, you're fitness professionals to some degree. So lots of other people are benefiting, and sometimes it's not you that's benefiting from that. So that's a good question to ask yourself.
I know. No, it is really, and it's just so very important that we do take stock of that, but we're just so self-critical and then critical of others too. It's unfortunate. Yeah,
I think it's one of the, and I don't want to give blanket statements, but if everyone was just a little bit kinder to themselves and everyone around them, that would have a very positive knock-on effect.
So we can see with the whole tattle thing. Now, I do not look at that thing because I just think that is toxic. Don't want to know. Yeah. Don't tell me.
Just for people who aren't familiar with this, and I will offer my opinion as well, explain what Tattle is, because... So
Tattle Life is this online website. It's a public forum where anyone can anonymously go on and talk and shame and discuss public people. So a lot of it is you know, directed towards influencers and not people that are online, but also, you know, I think
it's nasty as well.
I think it's nasty. I think Meghan and Harry even have it, and William and Kate. But it's anyone and everyone can go on and just spew vitriol and bile against people. And a lot of it is untrue, and a lot of it is speculation. And it's because it's keyboard warriors and they've complete anonymity. They can write whatever they want. And I've read from people that I've read in the newspapers, because it's kind of come to the fore now because the owner of Tattle Life has now been exposed, so there's going to be lawsuits and stuff like that. But I have read that people's lives have been destroyed, livelihoods have been destroyed, mental health has been destroyed as a result of it. So I don't like gossip. I'm not a gossiper, never have been, and I've always kind of stayed away from it. And when I don't even want to even think about Tattle Life or go on it, or even, because I think that when you're reading negative things or writing negative things about other people, and even reading them, you're consuming negativity and you're bringing negativity into your own life. Like, give out the good, it's so much easier to be kind. And, you know, to say to someone, oh my goodness, your dress is lovely or your hair is lovely, you know, focus on something that's nice about them. But yeah, they rip people apart on that forum, I think, and people have been really badly affected by it. It's
a very toxic site. I've had several friends who have gone onto it, and I don't know if we talked about it publicly on the podcast, so I won't mention it, but went through bouts of depression because of what was written.
Oh my God.
And I tried having this conversation because I'm on it, you're on it, I'm sure. Like, I don't read it, but anyone to have that amount of negativity, keyboard warriors, it's normally a reflection of what's going on within them. Like, if you think about this logically, you, Laura, me, people listening, when you're feeling really good about what you're doing, the last thing you're going to think about is, I'm going to bring that person down. Like, you don't, you can grow your biggest building by having a massive building, or you can tear everybody else's down. But generally blowing out someone's candle doesn't make yours burn any brighter. But there's people who have this negativity and this hate, and it's their way of projecting it out, because it does temporarily make them feel better about themselves. There's a lot of studies done on this about negativity. Yeah, in terms of like the dopamine hit we get when we're like calling somebody out. But that's same as sticking on your phone and going through mindless scrolling. You're getting dopamine. It doesn't necessarily mean it's cheap dopamine. So you want to avoid that as much as possible. And it's more of a reflection. And for anyone that's listening who's dealing with negativity, whether it's from family members, friends, all the way up to influencers, and a lot of high profile people who listen to this podcast, they know that it's a reflection of the person that's writing it, not of them. Out of curiosity, with negativity and dealing with that, and then we'll circle back to Ozempic, what's your process for that? For me, I always use the anchor of the times when I was really unhappy in my life, and I've gone through bouts when I was really unhappy, particularly when I was working a job I hated, where I never call people out publicly, but I would see someone on social and be like, well, fuck that guy, purely because I was jealous of what they were doing. They were clearly living life in their terms, and I was like, oh, they're making me feel bad about myself. Anger. And so I bring it back anytime I get negativity, and I would imagine I'm probably a very frustrating person to deal with online, because people's like, you're a fucking twat, Brian. I'm like, look, I'm so sorry you're going through a bad time. Please work on...
do you do that?
I do. You look through my TikTok, because people are it's a cesspool on TikTok, and because it's private accounts, and then people are like, oh, this fucking Aegis, this fucking bellend, and I'm like, look, I'm really sorry if you're going through pain. Look, sending positive vibes your way. Please take some of that energy and use it on helping yourself. And they're just like, fuck you, sending the fingers on the emojis. But like, it's coming from like, I don't want to feed into it. I don't want to feed into the negativity in any shape or form. What's your process of dealing with that? Or maybe you don't see it that often.
I actually don't see it. Now maybe there's loads of DMs unopened and I tend to not get those comments on my public posts. But sometimes actually what I find is say someone might write you something and they may seem angry while they're writing it, and then I'd like send them a little voice note going, oh listen, just on, so say for instance, right, I had one lady that messaged me recently saying, like, why can't you just do, because I was talking about one of my supplements and I was talking about using 2 or 3 of them, and someone wrote, why can't you just do like one supplement that covers everything? Like, I mean, loads of us don't have enough money to be spending like on 3. And it would have seemed like as if it was an angry kind of comment, but I just kind of voice noted her and said, oh listen, the reason why I don't put them all into one product is because I couldn't make a tablet big enough. You wouldn't be able to swallow the tablets, and to be honest with you really only need to take one product and take it well every day consistently, and you'll feel the results. Like, if some people find that they might want to add 1 or 2 extra in, that's fine, but generally people get by on just one, and you'll feel great if you do. And look, let me send you some. And sure, Jesus, she was like, oh, I can't believe you messaged me, oh my goodness. So like, sometimes I think you can perceive a comment as negative, but it's just, she's just writing on the go and didn't even think, you know, that kind of way. No, that's not like the people that are calling you a bell end. That's totally different.
No, I talk about it's a very small percentage. I'm using extreme examples.
I know, but I don't get an awful lot. And look, I think before I would have been, oh my God, I have to, you know, the way when you get some negative comments on it, I'm like, God, I have to like respond to that. Like, that person's like basically tearing that post down and saying, I don't know what I'm talking about. But actually what I do now is I just block them. Now, and I don't do that an awful lot, but what I find is if someone is writing, it's not just negative things. I'll allow negative comments, but if they're writing lies, or if they're writing something that's medically incorrect that could potentially cause damage, I have to block them. It's my responsibility. So, and before that I was like, no, I shouldn't block people, because I should let everyone have their say. But actually then I'm looking at it, this is my page, this is like my home. So if I don't want dog poo on my front lawn, I'll lift it up and I'll put it in the bin, won't I? So why would you allow that on your page? That's the way I see it. But in all honesty, I don't get an awful lot, and I don't look at tattle. I actually don't, deliberately, because I know that it would probably upset me if I read it.
Well, a lot of it's untrue. That's the downside of tattle.
But even I don't even like reading negative stuff with other people.
Yes,
I get like really uncomfortable. So even like to go on that and read something about someone that I probably don't even know, I'd feel upset for them. So no, I'm generally I'm good at kind of staying. I'm not like, you know, like block things out. I'm happy to take criticism, but I just think like sites like that do no one any good. No. Except the guy who's running it, who's apparently earning $250,000 in ad revenue every year on it, and he's going to now, or actually more than that. Anyway, good riddance. I hope what becomes of him is what is due to him, because
karma comes back, and also comes back to who's benefiting from me doing this thing, and the person that's spewing out the negativity. You're only fueling somebody else's pockets.
I do know people. I know a girl a couple of years ago who had a lovely page. It was very positive, and she closed her account down because of it, and I couldn't believe it. I was like, you know, this is your because it was her livelihood. She was actually doing ads and stuff for people, and she's like, I just cannot take it. I'm like, why are you reading it? She's like, I can't stop myself. I go on it every day and look at it. I'm like, oh God, no, I couldn't do that. Because then you'd be thinking about it, and you'd be changing your content and changing the way you are.
Yeah.
Like, you know, I'm like Marmite. You either like me or you loathe me. Yeah. But like, you know, whatever. Just don't follow me if you don't like my stuff.
I agree. I said it to you on your podcast, my mum's quote, that you're not everyone's cup of tea, but you're someone's shot of whiskey.
This is it.
Yeah, yeah. And just leaning into that.
Yeah.
You know, let's talk about Ozempic.
Oh yeah.
As a pharmacist, what are your thoughts?
So my thoughts on Ozempic are, it is an amazing medication that they have this, and it can really help with the disease of obesity. I think that for too long, people that have been living with obesity have been put into a corner of slovenly, stupid, sitting on their arse, just eating. You know, and I think that if you do a lot of the research on obesity, you will learn that it absolutely isn't that we were put on this earth to not have Tesco's down the road where we can buy everything. We were put on this earth to go hunting for food, and now that food is in abundance, and if we do fall into that trap of overeating, our body weight gets to a certain level and it wants to stay there. It's very hard to get back down because it wants to get back up again, and that's where the yo-yo dieting comes in, where the diet culture comes in. I think food in this country, in the Western world in general, is a huge issue. Processed foods, easy to foods that are full of carbohydrates, sugar. You know, we need to almost go out to the drawing board about how do we educate our children and our families on how to eat well and healthy. So Ozempic is absolutely going to be a game changer in terms of saving lives and having healthier outcomes for people. But it needs to be done with, you know, a medical doctor overseeing it. It needs to be done with someone who specialises in that area as well. And then also with the diet and lifestyle advice too. So it isn't a one-stop shop. I don't see it ever being a one-stop shop, but it's certainly good to get people on the road to health if they have reached a point in their life where they can't see a way out, you know. And I've had Mick Crotty on my podcast, and I've had a number of obesity experts on my podcast, Carel LaRue, and the whole thinking about it medically has changed too, because like I would have dealt with healthcare professionals as well that were off that same kind of frame of mind, like eat less, move more. And that's okay to say to someone who can eat less and move more. You know, sometimes it's hard for people to even move more because they're so heavy that they can't move without being, you know, feeling pain. So it is great as a tool, but in conjunction with all the other stuff that goes with it. Yeah,
as a bridge is what I try and tell people, and my viewpoint is very, very similar, that for those that need it, the clinically obese who have normally tried several, if not dozens and possibly hundreds of other options between diets.
And probably dieted their whole life and have the guilt and the shame of it, and there's so much to it, you know, isn't there?
But that's again, the emotional side is huge. And what Ozempic can do, and I had a great podcast. I don't think you've had Johan Horry on your podcast. Johan's phenomenal. So Johan wrote Lost Connections, but his most recent book was called The Magic Pill on Ozempic. He's on Ozempic. So he's a multiple time New York Times best-selling author. Hillary Clinton wrote the blurb from his book. He's been on Oprah Winfrey in her book of the year. Phenomenal author. But when we were talking on the podcast, he went through all the stuff that were beneficial for him with Ozempic and all the stuff that wasn't. And he was using himself as a case study. And by his own admission on the podcast, he was like, I didn't change anything else. I still went to KFC every day. I just couldn't eat as much. And I lost a lot of weight. And the conversation we were having, because he was a good avatar for that, he was quite overweight. He had tried every other option, couldn't get it to work, but didn't make the lifestyle change with it. And off the back of the podcast, we were having a private conversation. He's like, I think I need to change my fucking lifestyle. I was like, yo, I'll help you with that as much as I can. But do you think that this isn't the correct language? Because I get called out when I use this language, rightly so, because this isn't the language I should be using. Overprescribed. I don't mean overprescribed in the sense, misprescribed is probably more accurate. Do you see people given GLP-1s or Ozempic who fall outside of that category? Excluding the Hollywood people, because I can think of several cases now, it's actually all females, the ones I'm thinking in my example, who are on Ozempic, who by all intents and measures, from what I know as a fitness professional, shouldn't be on Ozempic, but they are, and it's working really well, but they weren't in a class of obesity, they didn't have any high risk of type 2 diabetes, but they still got the prescription. Is that something you're seeing? Because you'd be more in the space even than I would.
I'm actually not seeing that. Like, I'm seeing people being prescribed it that need it, and they can't fucking get it either because, you know, there's shortages and things like that as well. I think that in this country, doctors tend to be very careful.
Do you think it's black market then?
There is black market Ozempic, there is, and people can get it from, like, if you go to, I don't want to name the country, but like a friend of mine was over in a Middle Eastern country, and it was like Ozempic was nearly like, you know, here, just you can get it here over the counter. So people can bring it in from other countries, and they can, and we've seen Facebook pages pop up where non-doctors were offering Ozempic to, like, they must have gone to another country and brought it in, and they were offering it for like €200 an injection and things like that. So those Facebook pages have popped up. I've seen it. So the people that you're seeing with it, I'm not sure.
No, but I think this is happening in real time now. No one has told me they just said I'm on Ozempic, and I was looking at them going, you are not the class.
Okay.
So I don't know. I'm not putting words.
I mean, I think that from what I've seen, any doctor that prescribes it is prescribing it correctly, 100%. And I think that doctors are really careful about that too, because, you know, they want to have their patients to have the best outcome. And it isn't a case of someone to just go on it to lose a couple of stone for a wedding. Like, the actual licensed criteria of it are, like, it is a long-term management of the disease of obesity. And the whole thing about it is that you're not going to keep taking it and eventually go down to a size 0. You will take it until you reach a plateau. And then that plateau was maintained. So you might be a certain weight and you want to get down to half that weight, say, but you might only reach 3/4 of that rate and stay that way, and you will not, no matter what you do, lose any more weight. But you still need to maintain the use of Ozempic or the GLP-1, because if once you stop using that, you will regain the weight. It is a long-term medication, so it is not for people that just want to lose a few pounds, because once they lose the few pounds and they go off it, they'll just gain them back again. So I don't know, the people that you're seeing that are on it, you know, they may not be being prescribed it by a doctor who is actually a medical doctor. It might be just that it's been bought on the black market.
And I must admit publicly my lack of due diligence asking were they prescribed it by a doctor. I assumed, stupidly now that I think of it, that they got prescribed, a doctor prescribed it, as opposed to, I didn't ask, well, actually, did you buy that on the black market? Did you get that elsewhere? So yeah. But
also, I suppose that maybe you don't know, like, there could be underlying reasons why someone might be on it, but they may not seem to you as a reason why. Like, I know that there are the criteria for the BMI, etc., and then underlying issues such as pre-diabetic or even like cardiovascular disease or something like that. So there are a number of criteria under which someone might need to be prescribed it as well. So yeah, no, it's important. It's nuanced, definitely not like the magic bullet, but it certainly does help people put them on a path to better health alongside all those other things. Like, they need to probably link in with a dietitian. But also what you'll find as well is, you know, and Carel LaRue was on my podcast. He's a professor of obesity and obesity medicine. It'd be great to get on, actually. You should get him on. And what he would say is he does not tell people when they come to him that he's going to make them skinny or he's going to make them happy. Because actually, a lot of people that they may have lived with obesity, or they may be living in a bigger body for a long, long time, and even though they're put on their GLP-1 and they begin to lose weight and they reach their goal weight, or they nearly reach their goal weight, or if they do or not, it doesn't really matter. But they still have the mental issues that they have to deal with, that, you know, living in a bigger body their whole lives, the shame that they felt about that, the bullying that they felt, maybe the partners that they chose. There's still an awful lot of that they have to unpack. And just because they reach their goal weight doesn't necessarily mean that they're happy. And, you know, I've spoken to people that have had bariatric surgery, and they say, yeah, I just replaced my food addiction with shopping now. You know, so it's really so multifaceted. It isn't just about losing the weight, and I'm going to be delighted with myself once I do. So many people will need counselling, they'll need a dietitian support, they will need even family counselling as well sometimes, you know. So yeah, it's a big conversation.
It really is. Something I've said regularly is that losing weight will solve your weight problems. That's it. And in a lot of cases you will weigh less when you step on a scale, but it might not fix your relationship with food, it might not fix your relationship with yourself. You might still have all the shame, all the guilt, all the past shit that's been built up through childhood, teenage years, all the years that you were in that bigger body. And it's, again, awareness being key, knowing that you can still use your Ozempics if you need it. You could work with the coaches, the nutritionists, the dietitians, making sure you're on the right pharmaceuticals, etc. But there's this whole other area that potentially needs to be worked on as well. And just being aware of that, because too often I see it in the fitness industry where people are like, I'll be happy when fallacy is what I call it. I'll be happy when I get to X size. I'll be happy when I get to Y weight. And everything is put into that. And they don't evaluate their relationships. They don't evaluate their job. They don't evaluate their fulfillment or happiness, because everything is, I'll be happy when I'm able to fit into that dress and I can step on the scale and this is the number that comes back to me. And it's just, yes, you might get a temporary satisfaction because you're now at the weight or target weight or near the target weight you set, but it doesn't fix all these other things.
No, but isn't that life in general though? Like, I don't know, you as a business owner, okay? So do you sometimes, are you going about like, okay, so when I release that book, I'm going to be delighted with myself. And then you release the book and you're like, oh yeah, but I want to do this other thing. Is that the human condition? You're talking about weight specifically there, but do we all have something where we're like always trying to do better or always looking at the over there rather than enjoying the moment? That's what I'm really trying to focus on now, enjoying this journey that I'm on, rather than going, oh, you know, when I you know, get into 500 stores in the UK, then I'll be delighted. Because I know when I do, I'll be like, oh yeah, but now I need to get into this other country, or now I need to, like, you know, be in all the pharmacies in the UK. So I'm trying to really kind of pare back this thinking where it's like, I just want to enjoy my life at the moment, enjoy my children, enjoy where my business is currently, take the ups and downs and be happy and satisfied. But it's hard, I think, as a human condition, isn't it? I think as humans, we're designed to want more, want more, want more.
Yes, the hedonic treadmill.
What's it called?
The hedonic treadmill.
Okay.
Yeah, so the hedonic treadmill is where your baseline happiness rises temporarily because you've hit a goal, and then the bar moves, or the figurative goalpost moves. There's a great book by Daniel Gilbert called Stumbling on Happiness, which goes through the research of amputees versus millionaires, where amputees lose an arm, lose a leg, they'll get this decrease in life satisfaction temporarily, and millionaires or lottery winners, it's for lottery winners, will get this massive surge temporarily, and then over the space of, I think, in 18 months they regress to the mean. They go back to baseline level of happiness, because we tend to regress back to our mean. It's our hedonic treadmill. Anyone who's ever bought a new car has felt this, where you're like, you get the new car smell, you're like, amazing, new car, and then 2 months later there's chips wrappers and Fulfill bar wrappers, and you're just, it's your car now. That's the hedonic treadmill. Being aware it's the human condition. Evolutionary psychology, and again, evolutionary psychology is one of those kind of soft psychologies, but a lot of it's down to evolutionary reasons, that it made more sense for the ancestor of Laura, the ancestor of Brian, to be like, oh, I see that person doing better, I need to strive for that, and then you do better and you keep moving, because that perpetuates the genes, and then you pass that on. So there's so much underpinning this, and understanding that hedonic treadmill, that this is our default state. We have to go in, I always think of gratitude. I've had a lot of neuroscientists on the podcast, and they'll explain that you can't feel anxiety or a lack and scarcity with gratitude at the same time. They're polar. You cannot feel those two emotions at the same time. So that's why gratitude journaling, gratitude writing letters, gratitude and focusing on the gratitude of the things you have in your life, you know, your sons, your husband, your business, your health, all these wonderful things you have, focusing on those shifts you out of anxiety. It shifts you out of scarcity temporarily, and then you're rewiring your mindset to make this your more default state. That's why it works so well in terms of like positive psychology.
It's so interesting. And you know, we're supposed to deal with adversity in life as well. We weren't put on this earth to be happy, I don't think. To be content maybe, or to try and seek some kind of contentment. But to be just delighted with yourself all the time isn't.
Let me ask, because this brings it into a tie into your podcast. Sorry, I don't mean to go across yet.
Yeah.
You had a beautiful line when we were speaking about your workouts, that, you know, set up the workout the night before, it's ready to go, but you're like, the workouts are hard, but you feel great after. And then sometimes you have the reward of the cappuccino, I think it was, beforehand, and you're like, okay, and you're pairing all these things together. So difficult things in adversity don't equal unhappiness. Misaligned. Suffering for suffering's sake is masochistic. It's not a good thing. But suffering for something you love is called passion. So it really depends on where you're choosing your adversity. Talk to us a little bit about just life in general, when it comes to workouts, when it comes to business, when it comes to family, of not seeking happiness, seeking value in the suffering and the adversity because it's more meaningful to you, which is fueling the passion, which is making you feel joy. And that's what I can see from the outside looking at you. Talk to us about how that works in your life.
Well, I exercise because it makes me feel good after it, okay? And during it as well, up to a point, but sometimes I'm going, Jesus, I just wish this was over. But it does make me feel good. It helps with my mental health, gives me my dopamine hit that I definitely need. And then I suppose it's enjoying that marathon, and that sometimes it's a sprint. But I've never been afraid of hard work. and I do get a buzz out of working and being busy. My brain's a very, very active brain. I'm always super busy. I've got 100,000 thoughts going on in my head at any one time. But yeah, that all gives me joy and satisfaction. And then my children do as well. I really do try and, like, you know, one of my boys is now telling me he doesn't even want to come on summer holidays with us. Like, I'm getting to that stage. So that's tough, because when you're in the baby phase, you know the way they say the days are long but the years are short? It is absolutely the case, because myself and my husband, actually a picture popped up from 10 years ago on my sister's phone last night, and she sent it to me, and it was myself and my husband with our then 4-year-old who was graduating from his little nursery school, and myself and my husband looked like teenagers. Like, I was like, oh my God, would you look at you? You're like a teenager. And he's like, I don't, Jesus, we look so young. Like, you know, and now, so looking at that picture, I'm like, oh my God, I was gorgeous. You're
still gorgeous. Still gorgeous. Still gorgeous.
I think
different gorgeous.
But isn't that the thing, though? We often hear that women, I don't know, I've never heard men say it, but maybe they do, but women will look back on pictures of themselves when they were teenagers and go, what the fuck was I thinking when I looked in the mirror and thought that I wasn't good enough, or I was ugly, or was fat, or had a spot? Because I'm doing that now, and it's only 10 years ago. I'm like, Jesus, I was hot. Do you know, that kind of way? So it's all your reality, or your respective reality, isn't it? So I think that, yeah, taking time to enjoy where you are now, and that doesn't have to be running a business. It doesn't have to be having any kind of a business. It doesn't have to be even in a job. It can be like taking satisfaction in whatever you're doing day to day. If you manage to get up in the morning and have a shower and put the clothes out in the line, sometimes that's success, isn't it?
Yeah.
So that's what I believe in, really.
I love that. And what you mentioned there about looking back on those old pictures, something that I do, because I'm 37, 38 at the end of this year, still young, but there's times when your body doesn't do the same things it did when you were 27, when you were 22, and you're like, oh, geez, I'm getting a bit old, or whatever it is. And something I do regularly is I think fast forward that I'm actually 87 and I'm in that point, and then I wake up and I've just got 50 years back. And I'm like, oh, fuck, I'm so happy. I was like, I got another 50 years until that. And sometimes it's just anchoring in the perspective, because you will look back when you're 87 and go, wow, look how amazing I was when I was in my 30s, in my 40s, in my 50s, because it's all a reference point. And we don't have to focus on the reality now. It's the forward projection. Our brains can fast forward into the future. It's literally what causes anxiety. It's an evolutionary trade-off of catch-22, if ever there was one. The same thing that fuels your anxiety allows you to fast forward into your future self and then bring that back. So for those that are going, fuck, like, you know, I looked amazing when I was a teenager. It's like, well, you look amazing now too. And when you're 50 years from now, you'll wish you had this time back. You wish you looked like that.
Exactly. So enjoy the moment, isn't that right?
Yeah.
Really is. It's about that.
Laura, what's your filter for saying yes to things?
Oh God, I was terrible before. I was terrible. I used to say, like, up until very recently, I used to say yes to everything. And it wasn't like a FOMO. It was just like, oh, you know, I should do this. Like, I should be busy. So I've been diagnosed with ADHD in the last number of years, and always busy, always active, never able to sit still, which is probably why part of my yes trait. But in recent months, I have really kind of gone, no, I can't do that. I'm sorry. I'm not able to. Or like, I would have front loaded my diary and not even looked at next week. So I would have been like, you know, going Monday to Sunday, and then I would have got a request to do something on the following Monday. Be like, yeah, no problem. Not even looking back at the fact that I've been on the trot and it would get me in trouble at home, because I'd be, you know, tired and then like, you know, anxious then as well, and then not looking forward to things, not looking forward to doing a podcast with you because I had front loaded. But like, I've nothing else on today except doing this podcast, which is wonderful. So it meant that I was able to have a leisurely breakfast, meet you and enjoy it. And look, not every day is like that. Like, a lot of days are really, really busy, but I do try and really not really bookend myself. It's really, really important now. And, you know, even just yesterday I got a couple of requests and I just said no to them all nicely and politely, but I just like, look, I'm sorry, I just can't. I'm just like really busy at the moment. Maybe you'll catch me in 2026, which sounds mental, but actually I have to do that now, because otherwise I just don't look forward to stuff.
Yeah.
Would you be the same?
I would be the king of saying no to things. Yeah. In a polite way. Like, general rule of thumb, and people are listening and go, he fucking sent me this message. Like, it's always like, look, I've got just enough on my plate right now. I'm good. But thanks so much.
Yeah.
That's generally my reply to things. And again, I have tendencies to overcommit, say yes to too many things. We're drowning in opportunity. We're very, very fortunate, very, very lucky. It's a first world problem. But a lot of people listening will have a lot of things on their plate and they're trying to manage.
Yeah.
How did you get better at that? Did you have a process?
Nearly fucking burnt out.
Okay, so you actually had to go to the in burnout, be like this.
There was one day where I think I'd just done a Viva La Vulva show. Yeah, I think it was a couple of days after that. It was like the matinee and the evening show I'd done. Then I was in the next day doing a talk at Future Beauty, and then I was visiting a prison the next day to talk to women in there, which was lovely, by the way. I was happy to do it, and lots of other things going on. And I was like, I feel like I'm the Walking Dead. I'm not getting any enjoyment out of this anymore. And that was when I was like, I need to actually just pare it back. Take a step back, because I love doing that. I love doing my talks. I love meeting people. But if you're doing it non-stop every day, it just becomes unenjoyable, and then you just become so tired. Like, I'm 45 now, so I do have to manage my energy levels as well. And if I get so busy that I can't exercise, then that has a negative knock-on effect on my business, on my mental health, on my family life, everything. So I'm grumpy if I don't exercise. So if I go 2 days I exercise and I'm grumpy, so I try and exercise most days. So that's why after I speak to you today, I'm going to go for a nice run. But that just gives me my thing, and I have people that say to me, well, a glass of wine gives me my joy and chatting to friends. I'm like, you do you. That is fantastic. It's whatever gives you that joy and fills your cup up. So I feel that I nearly burnt out at one stage. Now I know what people say, well, that doesn't sound like burnout, like you need to be literally on the floor, but like I could see it coming.
Spectrum. Burnout's a spectrum.
It is, and I could see it coming, and I was like, so then I was like, no, I'll just say no now to things that I don't necessarily need to do, and then I'll just be selective. Because I'm, and I'm happy. I love meeting people. I love giving advice. I love doing the things. But if I do so much that I can't work, then that's no good to anyone. Not work or be present for my family.
Yeah, again, I have priorities. Knowing what your priorities are, and if family is a priority, and showing up in your work is a priority, and people listening might have different priorities and different values, and that's okay. But knowing that these are the things, if they're starting to get affected, I need to change something somewhere. Yeah. And I think that's a really good feedback loop for people.
And there's little room for everything else when you consider it. Like sometimes when you're like running a business and that, and like sometimes I do feel like I don't see my friends enough. But I've tried to actually. Someone messaged me yesterday. I'm going out with them on Saturday night now as a result. But yeah, I want to tie in with those friends that I probably haven't seen for a couple of years because I've been so busy. Because I don't want to, you do, if you're not checking in with people, you can drift apart, and those friendships are special, even though, they're few and far between. So it's important to kind of, do those things that are important to you. So something does have to take a back seat. And I think that it's important to understand that you don't need to always be on. People might feel, particularly if they're on Instagram or if social media is a big part of their business, that they need to always be on, but you don't. You actually don't. You don't need to be showing up every day. People won't forget you if you take a little break, And I fully intend, I'm going on holidays in July, and I fully intend to take an entire week off. Like literally off everything. Leave the phone in the apartment and just go out and hang out with the kids. And even they're saying like, oh, Mum, are you going to be, on your phone on the holidays? Because traditionally I probably would have gone on my phone on holidays. Because look, shit happens to me on holidays, like catastrophic things like blowing up ovens and stuff. It's funny content. But I know, I swear to God. So last year I went to Sicily, and my suitcase went missing for 5 days. So I was wearing my children's GAA shorts, right? On the beach and working out. I was wearing my son's boxers when I was doing yoga. For 5 days I stank because I had the one top, and I was refusing to buy new stuff because it was just like, I'm not buying more. So I have like a suitcase full of shit, and I kept being told it's going to come, and it just kept not arriving. But anyway, so that happened, and then I blew up an oven on holidays. So basically it was one of those ovens that had like this glass cover, and when I pushed the cover up, it just came back down again. So I was like, oh, the cover must be there to like, put the heat on. So it was a gas hob. I put the gas hob on to cook some tortellini for the kids, and it was taking ages to heat. And I was like, this is fucking taking ages to heat. Anyway, I didn't think about it. Served them their food, went downstairs, this was an Airbnb, and then heard this almighty crash, like as if there was building work going on outside. Thank God no one was in the kitchen. I still have actually PTSD from thinking about it, because if they had been, shards of glass were everywhere. I documented the whole cleanup, and it was literally like, if someone had been in that place, they could have lost an eye. They definitely would have been like, it would have been like glass fired at them. It was awful, but it made for very funny content. But anyway, so sorry, that was a very big long story about the fact that my kids said to me, are you going to be on your phone? And I've just told them, no, I'm not.
Yeah.
Because I think it's important for them to see as well that like actually it's not a priority, you know. Sorry.
Not at all.
Hey, shit happens. I lost my fucking beats when I was on holidays. Whenever I go on holidays, something bad happens. And actually, even when I was going to Japan, I was getting messaged from people going, "Oh Jesus, I hope not on the same plane as you," but or like, you know, or I fear
Final
for people
Destination
that are,
vibes, like
literally, but Japan was actually okay. I think it was because other people were organising it, but yeah, inevitably things go wrong on holidays. Mount Etna erupted when I was in Sicily last year too. Like anything that could have happened, and it's a general theme of my holidays. But anyway, maybe the fact that I'm not documenting will mean that nothing will go wrong.
Yeah,
so
you've sent out that karmic energy to the universe now. It's like nothing, just a nice chill
holiday on the beach.
Laura, last thing I want to ask before I'm still laughing at the holiday stories.
You will not believe like the mess that made, and like we were literally in the Airbnb an hour, and I had to phone your one and say I've absolutely broken your oven. Like, and she came, she's like, how? Like she's been renting out that Airbnb for 20 years, and no one's done something that stupid.
Yeah, no comment. I can't talk. I don't have the domestic qualities. I wouldn't even have turned on the oven, so we're safe on that side. Love Your Vulva, 23rd of September. Viva la Vulva.
Viva la Vulva, yes, is coming out. So we're doing another Viva la Vulva show on the 31st of January. Yeah. 2026. There's a matinee and there's an evening, and do you know what, Brian, yourself and your missus are only too welcome to come. I would love you to come and get a feel for what a real woman's health event is about.
What date in January?
The 31st.
Oh, and I'm around, I think.
It's a Saturday.
Yeah, I'm gone the weekend before.
We'll get you up.
That sounds amazing.
But it is a fun-filled event, full of knowledge, but entertainment and laughter. So you'll learn about women's health on it, but you'll also come away like laughing your head off.
That's your content, though. Like I must say, as someone that consumes it, particularly in the lead up to the podcast, it's so educational but so funny. Like it's a perfect blend. And I think, like, I was a teacher for 4 years, and one of the things, I was doing a dissertation for a master's on creating the correct environment for learning, and one of it was to relax and make sure that you're relaxed. And I came across a lot of different content that was, when you're finding things funny and your whole nervous system is calming down, your retention is better for the information. Yeah. I think, and again, I could be wrong, but from a focus group of one, I think that's why your content is so great, and it's why it's exploded, because it's educational, it's funny, and it sticks.
Well, if you're talking about dry fannies, there's nothing funny about them, so you might as well try and make them funny, isn't that right? So, you know, it's not a nice subject, so if you make it humorous, people will at least go, oh, well, you know, actually it's not that bad.
Laura, absolutely love this. We've so much here for people. I'm going to link up the book, the pre-order for people. They can check it out. When the event comes out in January, be sure to let me know, and I'll get that out for people too. I'll link out the Instagram page, the podcast, of course, and the supplements in terms of the fabU, especially the andropause for the men listening. I can't speak to the first-hand experience from the perimenopausal or the menopausal products, but for the andropause I can speak first-hand. Fantastic product. I'll link it in the description below alongside everything else. Laura, thank you so much again.
Thank you, Brian.
A great in-person podcast. The full video is also available on YouTube, Brian Keane Fitness, if you want to go back. I actually meant to put that in the introduction, I totally forgot. Today's podcast was also sponsored by The Circle. As I mentioned, there's a genius method in here about how Laura uses her Instagram to launch her product line, and the powerful way she gets engagement up on her channels, which is exclusive for Circle members. So if you are running your own business, personal training, physiotherapy, yoga, Pilates, etc., in the health wellness space, you can check out my online group Mastermind, where you'll get access to all my courses. You'll get access to monthly trainings and Q&As with me, and special premium content like the interview with Laura that we talked about, going specifically into business questions. So that'll be linked in the description below. That's everything from me from today's podcast. Thanks so much for listening. Catch you next Monday.